I cannot believe it has been a week since I started working at Exquisite. A whole week has flown by, but trust me, it definitely has not been smooth sailing. So it is a Saturday night. And suddenly I'm in charge of desserts during peak service. How on earth did this happen? Let's go back to how it all started. It all started when my manager, Angie, called me into the office as soon as I arrived for my shift at around 3 p.m. Our pastry chef, aka the dessert whisperer, called in sick. It was an emergency. The head chef, Marcel, walked in mid-conversation. He looks at me and goes,
Angie, I have the solution. Sandra can cover the dessert station. You get my drift, yes?
Suddenly, Angie turned to look at me with scrutiny in her eyes.
That is a brilliant idea. But is she ready? She has only been here a week, and she has only been training for front-of-house duties.
There I was, with clueless enthusiasm, grinning without fully grasping what I was getting into. I looked from Angie to Marcel, and with a boost of confidence, which I would come to regret, I said, I was born ready. You need someone to cover the dessert station, right? I can do it. Did I know what I was doing? Absolutely not. But I had watched several baking shows at home. How hard could it be? Well, I was about to find out.
This is my kitchen, and I have only one rule.
What is the rule?
Simple. It is that you follow all my rules. Take this book. This is a guide to creating some of our signature desserts here at Exquisite. You must follow the instructions to ensure you stick to our standards. On a busy night as this, a lot of things can go wrong, but it better not be the desserts, understood?
Absolutely, no mistakes. I can handle this.
Your first task is to bake a chocolate sponge cake. We have a big table coming in for dinner, and they have pre-ordered it for dessert. We usually bake during the morning shift, but with the pastry chef sick, we need someone to cover. You know how to bake a cake? Bake a cake? Yes?
Of course. I nodded enthusiastically. After all, if I was at my wit's end, a quick online tutorial video would do the trick. But of course I did not tell him that.
I will leave you to it. Do not mess this up.
So I start weighing out the ingredients. This was a classic. Chocolate sponge with buttercream icing. Except, small issue. Much later after the cake had gone out, I realized I used salt instead of icing sugar, which means I had just seasoned the icing like it was a roast chicken. How did things go wrong so fast?
What have you done?
The anger in Marcel's voice nearly made me jump out of my skin.
Guess who got the first bite of that pillar of salt you call a cake? A very high-profile food critic with a blog called The Culinary Seat. She said my cake tasted like emotional sabotage.
I am so sorry, Marcel.
Sorry is not going to fix this. That is one strike against you. I will give you another chance because, frankly, I cannot possibly man the dessert station and the front line at the same time. Do not mess this up.
Give me another chance, please.
Fine, your next task is simple. You cannot possibly ruin this one. Get the fudge cake from the fridge. It needs to go to a table of 6 in half an hour. Chop, chop.
I hurried to the fridge, but there was no sign of the fudge cake. After rummaging through the kitchen, I found a box of fudge cake in the defrosting section. It was cold in the center, but just needed a little heat. Not a problem. I sliced it up as best as I could and chucked it in the microwave. Except, I forgot it was still wrapped in foil paper. It was chaos, but in my defense, no one told me foil turns into fireworks. I guess that was strike 2.
Add this to the rules. We never flambe cake in the microwave. Someone get her away from the microwave.
But then I finally make something good. A decent ice cream sundae that did not melt away like my confidence in the kitchen. I grab a side plate for the sundae glass and think, you know what this needs? A little personal touch. So I draw a little chocolate smiley face. It was a little wonky, but it was cute. I could just imagine the smile on the face of the lucky guest.
Is the dessert mocking me?
I overheard the guest's comment when I hurried out into the restaurant to grab myself some water from the dispenser. I tried to explain that it was expressive plating, but he called it culinary disrespect. Trust me, Marcel was not pleased. It was my last shot at redeeming myself and proving my ice cream sundae making skills. It was nearly closing time when I got one more order to make an ice cream sundae for a VIP's child. I closely examined my finished work. Whipped cream? Check. Sprinkles? Check. Sauce? Yeah, except I grabbed the wrong squeeze bottle.
This is not what my child asked for. This tastes like pizza.
Well, I have gone and done it again. At this point, I thought I was done. Fired. Blacklisted. I might not even step foot into another restaurant again. But instead, Chef Marcel walked up to me and said,
You try again.
So I did. And no, I do not mean to try burning down the building. This time, it was creme brulee, the sugar caramelized. There was no fire, no explosions, just dessert. Not every dessert was perfect. Okay, none were really, but it was a hit with some of the guests. I peeked out from behind the kitchen doors as an elderly couple giggled at the ice cream sundae with a smiley face. The VIP kid's sister asked for that weird sundae, but without the tomato sauce. I even got a few encouraging words from the waitstaff for surviving my shift. Anyway, the evening was memorable. I think they understood that I was trying, and to an extent, that was what mattered. On my way home after my shift, I realized enthusiasm is great, but it does not replace the need for skill. I made mistakes, but I learned, and even better, I did not burn down the building. However, the next time someone is about to throw me in the deep end, I will definitely ask more questions before I jump on the task.